Do you want to know how I know that America, specifically white female America, do you want to know how I know that we are ready for Kamala Harris to be our president? I mean, I hear all kinds of detractors out there about it, about America not being ready. But let me tell you, I have proof. I have proof that America's ready. And you want to hear it? You want to hear it? The white women's phone call, the Zoom call last night that raised $8.5 million. I promise, in my soul, I believe it never would have happened without the leadership of those 44,000 black women. If they hadn't done what they did on Sunday, raising all that money, if they hadn't had the genius idea to do it, if they hadn't collected, had that unity, come together, if those women hadn't gotten together, the white women Zoom call never would have taken place. So you know what that tells me? White women respect black female leadership. White women are ready to follow Kamala Harris. So I hope that gives you a little encouragement on this fine Friday evening. The women are ready.
Let me end with this, Mr. Trump. I know you have so much trouble pronouncing her name. But here's the good news. After the election, you can just call her Madam President.
That individuals understand what is at stake right now, and everything is at stake. As the Attorney General of the great state of New York, I and my other colleagues, all Democratic Attorney Generals, have endorsed Kamala Harris for President of these United States. And I think an Attorney General obviously knows, is in the best position to know what a former Attorney General is capable of. And Kamala Harris clearly is capable and is the most qualified individual to run for president. In fact, more qualified than the last 4 presidents. And it's important that individuals recognize that our basic liberties and freedoms right now are being jeopardized. As the Attorney General of the state of New York, I've joined with others to analyze Project 2025. And this is not something which is new to us. This is something which Donald Trump is true to. Why? Because when he was president of these United States, I and other attorney generals, Democratic attorney generals, we had to sue him. In fact, under my leadership, my office sued Donald Trump over 100 times. And the basis of all of that was Project 2025. So he cannot distance himself from something that he has attempted to implement when he was president of these United States. And we were successful 70% of the time. We were the firewall, Democratic attorney generals. And she, Kamala Harris, given her experience, given her background, given someone obviously who was concerned about liberty and freedoms in this country and our democracy as a whole, she is the most qualified candidate to be president of these United States. And it is my singular focus to have her elected as president of these United States, organizing, mobilizing, and educating individuals about all that Donald Trump did to this country to divide us based on artificial constructs such as race and class and gender. As Eleanor Roosevelt once said, I believe because we are in a post-Roe world that it is up to the women. And that's why individuals obviously need to step up, get people registered to vote, particularly in battleground states, and get out the vote in November.
General James, you touched on Project 2025, which we here on the weekend have put a great deal of emphasis on going back a number of months. And I really do appreciate you putting that in the context of the job you're currently doing. Could you flesh that out just a little bit more? Because I think people really don't appreciate exactly how Project 2025 is designed to change their constitutional liberties, their rights, and their freedoms, and how that limits access to opportunities as opposed to expanding it, which is some of what you were talking about.
So when Donald Trump was the president of these United States, he attempted to basically change the legal landscape here in these United States. And Democratic attorney generals, we sued him over and over and over again. And as I mentioned, we were successful 70% of the time. You know, under the leadership of President Biden, and I thank him for being this humble man who's the selfless man who put country before his own personal ambition. You know, he is the one that has put in place legal pathways for migrants to come to this country. And it's important that individuals recognize that individuals are fleeing these countries under authoritarian rule because they want freedom. Freedom. And that's what we offer in this country. Freedom. And that's what's under a threat right now. Freedom. It's important to note that, again, when President Trump was in office, he attempted to address reproductive rights. We are now in a post-Roe world where literally women are bleeding out in bathrooms in order to get reproductive care. I went to Texas. I heard the stories of individuals who have had ectopic pregnancies, miscarriages, women who were raped and could not get reproductive care. And the only time that they can get emergency care is when their husbands found them bled out on bathroom floors. These are women who wanted to have children. You have a former president who basically wants to take universal lunch away from children. You have a president who wants to separate families. You have a president, obviously, who wants to, in the state of New York, we no longer have state and local tax exemptions, which impacts working people. You have a president of these United States, and Kamala Harris knows it well, who basically wants to go after unions, which are the reason why we have a middle class. Individuals, obviously, who have been the victims of wage theft. I and other Democratic attorney generals stand up for the rule of law in this country. And Kamala Harris, who was once the attorney general, once a district attorney, who went after criminals, someone who was the former United States Senate, who served on the Homeland and Security Committee, who has met with leaders all across this nation and who's traveled the globe. She is the most qualified candidate. And as a Democratic attorney general, joining with others, we have challenged Donald Trump, who basically wants to dismantle our country, wants to separate us based on race and gender, who says vile things, and who obviously is someone who does not respect the rule of law and does not respect the liberties that you and I enjoy and the freedoms, which is the basis of our democracy in this country. And that's why, given all that I have seen, the damage that he has attempted to do, it is really critically important that individuals stand up and walk in defiance to all that he represents and vote for the most qualified candidate, Vice President Kamala Harris, who will be the next president of these United States.
General James, you know, as we were talking in the last block about just the way in which Donald Trump attacks those that he views as his opponents or that are trying to hold him accountable, he doesn't agree with, he specifically has gone at, he has a specific ire, I feel like, when it comes to certain individuals. And you are one of the people that he has also attacked over the course for attempting to, and successfully in many respects, holding him accountable. I do want to ask you about one of those things. Donald Trump has an appeal given the Supreme Court ruling that essentially says, I guess, that, you know, presidents and former presidents are kings. It's an immunity ruling, if you will, that there's absolute immunity for official acts and presumptive immunity for some connected acts, no immunity for unofficial acts for a president. Donald Trump is appealing your particular ruling, and the spokesperson for your office said in a statement that there's nothing new in Donald Trump's appeal arguments. The defendants are raising arguments that we're already sanctioned and fined for. We won this case based on the facts and law, and we are confident we will prevail on appeal. Are you concerned that, given just the makeup of some of the courts in this country, particularly the Supreme Court, that there is a chance for him to skirt some of the accountability that your office has attempted to bring?
This is a state case. Last week, he perfected his appeal, and we are confident that in the state of New York, that we will recover over $450 million for the residents of the great state of New York. He's engaged in name calling. But unfortunately, the reality is that I will not dignify his comments, and two, I will not amplify his racism and or sexism. We've got to focus on issues. Americans are struggling right now Inflation has gone down, again, under the leadership of President Biden. Right now, we are experiencing one of the lowest unemployment rates in history. And it's really critically important that the number of illegal border crossings has come to one of the lowest points, again, because of pathways that President Biden and Vice President Harris have created through executive order that Republicans oppose. We had an opportunity to create bipartisan immigration, but unfortunately, Donald Trump killed it for political purposes. I will not fear Donald Trump. I have steel in my backbone. And the reality is I will not allow this person, Donald Trump, who unfortunately is a broken man, to get in the way of progress and to separate us. It's important that Americans understand that we need to stand up and defend our liberties, our rights. And the reason why countless number of individuals are flocking to this country is because of our liberties and freedoms, which are under attack from individuals led by Donald Trump, who only want to attack us based on grievances. And a number of those grievances are issues that we have addressed in court as Democratic attorney generals, and they're all laid out in Project 2025. Individuals need to understand that they should not vote against their economic interests, and that people need to stand up. We also need to recognize that Kamala Harris has been a great defender of unions and working class people in this country. And as a proud defender of unions, it's important that individuals understand that we need to grow out the middle class, and we need to hear from young people. Right now, she is leading the polls for young people by 20 points, because young people are sick and tired of the racism, sexism. They're tired, apparently, of the grievances. They want a functioning government. And right now you have Republicans in Congress, which is paralyzed under their leadership. We need to move this country forward.
In this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom.
Propelled by that, and I hope you find also in the hard work of campaigning a little bit of joy. I feel it. I heard it just as I was coming into this room. We can have fun too. It's okay to have fun. Politics doesn't have to be a doom and gloom death match. Yes, we know what we're up against, but we also know what we're building, and that's the biggest thing that I think we're going to be proud of looking back on the 2020s, that I'm one day going to tell our kids who are now 3 years old about what we did in this time. It's not to me.
Look, you've known, obviously, VP Harris for a long time, both being in politics in California, working together on many things. What do you think she possesses quality-wise that makes her the right candidate right now?
Well, I've had a chance to see her kind of up close and personal when we were both working on our respective intelligence committees, and I've seen her attention to detail, her profound concern and interest in our national security. I've witnessed that fine prosecutorial mind. She's very much able to make the case, to cross-examine witnesses in hearings. She brings an incredible skill set and dynamism to the race. I think she will make an incredible president, and she's already running an incredible campaign. But what a phenomenal contrast between this former prosecutor, former attorney general, who's held, big banks accountable, held criminals accountable, going up against a criminal, someone who's a business fraudster, someone who's a sex offender, someone who's a serial lawbreaker. And so it's a profound contrast. But I also like the contrast between someone who has fought to make the economy work for people again, especially working families, and Donald Trump, whose concern has only ever been about himself and his own wealth and that of his family members. So it's a great, sharp contrast.
knocking on doors for Kamala Harris, because I believe she's going to be fighting for all people, not just the rich.
Something is really fascinating. I'm serious. I don't know how many news outlets there are, how many cable news stations, and bearing in mind we are in election season, but they seem to be missing what is really in front of them right now. And that is this Kamala craze. It's going crazy. I'm not just talking about delegates knocking on the door. I'm talking about people who probably normally would spend their weekend doing anything apart from getting involved with politics. The wave of interest, the sudden, the amount of people who are participating in turning up to hear people speak. Put it this way, I'll give you a couple of clips to see for yourself. Pete Buttigieg, Bernie Sanders, just some of the things which are going on. And the reason I say that I'm amazed, there appears to be no coverage on, I mean, this is shameful on CNN, because it can't always be about the politics. In terms of, when I say that, they're not talking about the politics in terms of policy, but it's like, oh, he said that, she said that, Trump said this. It can't always be about the talking heads. Why are the talking heads taking up all of the room on cable news? Yet the real story right now is this growing wave, and it is a wave. It's not like some big, huge headline. It's just something that's happening on the streets. Right here as we speak in America.
What are you looking for in a